Here's the second thing I want to say to you. I want you to notice, look very closely, I am black. I am an American of African descent. My great-grandparents were slaves and then sharecroppers in Orange County, Virginia. But let there be no mistake. I love my country. I donned a Marine Corps uniform for my country in 1970. I raised my hand and took an oath to the Constitution of the United States that I would preserve, protect, and defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I am proud to be an American. I love that flag. I love our national anthem, and I'm black. So this is not a black thing. This is a leftist thing. This is a racial obsession thing. And trying to make this into a black-white thing, it's not. I can tell you there are plenty of black people across this country who love our country, love our flag, and are disgusted by this display of anti-Americanism, of hatred for our country, and simply don't support it, not one bit. So let me say to Colin Kaepernick and to all you sports players out there, particularly you celebrities, you stars, the Steph Currys of the world, the LeBron James of the world, those of you who are making big money playing sports, playing a game, let's just make something clear. You would not be where you are were it not for the wonderful free market system of the United States of America. You would not have millions of dollars. You would not live in a mansion. You would not drive Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis. You would not be partying at these expensive nightclubs and doing whatever else it is you do. You can only do that because of the wondrous nation we have that has given more opportunity, more hope, more prosperity to more people than any nation that has ever existed in the history of mankind. Now, let's just get that straight. So let's put a footnote to that point. If you're going to criticize America, you can do it, of course, because you have a First Amendment right to do it. Do it on your own time and on your own dime. You have ruined the game of football for many of us. You really have. You've ruined it. I haven't watched the game since the season started because I'm so disgusted by this that I just don't want to be bothered. You are looking at a newly minted NHL fan, National Hockey League fan, a newly minted NASCAR fan. My son loves NASCAR. I haven't been into it, but I'm going to get into it because I like sports. And right now it seems that those two, and baseball, if baseball doesn't allow their players to go crazy like the National Football League has, apparently the NBA has clamped down on their players doing this during the games. Look, everybody's running around saying, well, we all have a First Amendment right. Yes, you have a First Amendment right, but you don't have a First Amendment right to say whatever you want to say on the property of someone else while you are employed by someone else, carrying out your work responsibilities for someone else. And that's what sports figures are. They are employees, highly paid employees, but employees nevertheless. And frankly, I in part blame, I don't like the fact that they seem to have no affection for our country, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I blame the league for allowing this nonsense. That's why I think we ought to fire. Roger Goodell ought to be fired. The coaches, that is the owners of these teams, have allowed this man potentially to ruin the National Football League. It is going to suffer. Because look, I haven't, tried to organize any kind of boycott. This is springing up organically. I haven't watched because I just don't want to watch. I'm just disgusted by the whole thing. I mean, that's how much antipathy it has given me for what they're doing in the National Football League. And I've loved football. I've enjoyed watching it for years. I mean, I don't have the time to follow it as closely as some do, but I do enjoy the game. Not anymore. They've messed it up. And I think millions of Americans feel the same way. So to add this footnote to this whole issue of respecting and honoring your country, if you must express yourself in an appropriate venue, what you never do, no American should ever do, is go to a foreign country and use the platform that you have in a foreign country to criticize your own home. What's wrong with you? I mean, I guarantee you these players were raised better than that. They know better than that, but they've got caught up in this leftist politics nonsense, and they don't understand it. To me, it's traitorous. I know treason is a legal term, but it's treasonous in its import to go to another country and use the platform of another country to criticize your own. And that's what I think the Ravens and the Falcons did in Great Britain. They went to Great Britain, would not stand for our national anthem, but stood for Great Britain's national anthem. Now, Great Britain is an ally, and look, I respect them. I want that alliance to continue. But for our citizens to go to Great Britain and refuse to stand for our national anthem, a country built on the premise that we don't have kings, and to stand for a country that's built on the premise that you do. You know, people in Great Britain aren't citizens, they're subjects. Here you're a citizen of the United States of America with equal protection under the law. The history of Great Britain is it's a monarchy where all power ultimately inures to the monarch. And you stand for that? And you won't stand for the United States of America? I mean, didn't your mother or father teach you better than that? Would you go to your neighbor's house and spend your time at your neighbor's house telling everybody how bad your family is and how messed up it is and the mistakes they've made and the things they've done and how you don't respect your mother or don't respect your father? It's the same principle. It's the same thing. No matter what criticism you have, you wouldn't go somewhere else to a neighbor's house and use that time to denigrate your own family. We are a family in the United States of America. And you don't go to a foreign country and use that as an opportunity to denigrate your own country. But if you're going to do it, have the courage of your convictions and don't come back. Stay there if you think that's so great. Stay there if you think America's so bad. Stay there if you think you're willing to stand up for their anthem, but not stand up for ours. Just stay. Don't come back to this terrible country that you claim is so unjust. Stay where you think is just. I would just want to remind you that there was slavery in Great Britain before there was slavery in America. I just want to remind you that Great Britain has its share of racial problems to this day. I just want to remind you that black people in Great Britain have a problem there. So once again, this idea that somehow the whole world is a utopia and it's just terrible America. Now, I've said this jokingly, I've said this tongue-in-cheek, but I'm saying it now seriously. Those of you who won't stand for our flag, who won't stand for our national anthem, who hate our country so much, just leave. I mean, you sports figures have enough money. You could just leave. Renounce your American citizenship and go somewhere else. I mean, just live somewhere. Go find the country that you think is so just and live there and leave us alone. Those of us who love our country, we know we're not a perfect country, but we love our country. We want to work together to solve our problems. And we know we can't solve our problems by denigrating the very symbols that unite us. Look, I don't agree with abortion, but I'm not going to not stand up for my national anthem and my flag because the Supreme Court made a stupid decision and because a bunch of politicians have it right and a bunch of leftists and feminists have it, that is, a bunch of politicians have it wrong and a bunch of leftists and feminists have it wrong. I'm not going to denigrate and disrespect my own country. I'm going to keep trying to bring together consensus around the things I believe in. So, now, to what I believe in. Now, folks, let's just tell it like it tis, shall we? All of this started with Colin Kaepernick making the declaration. He's not going to stand up for a country that discriminates against black people and oppresses black people and where police kill black men and they don't go to jail for it and blah, 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 blah. First of all, there is no epidemic of police brutality against black people. Now, I know that contradicts all of the orthodoxy and the narrative, but it's just the truth. And all you've got to do is look at the data. Now, if you want to look at a liberal media that will take every incident and blow it up as if this is happening every second, well, you can think that way. But if you actually want to take a cold, hard look at the data, the actual facts, there's no such thing. It might have been in the 1950s. It might have been in the 1960s. But it's not in 2017. Look, it varies, of course, from year to year, but an average of about 2.73 million black people are arrested every year, okay? About twice as many white people. So 6.77 million white people arrested every year. Out of that, about 400 of the suspects who are confronted by police and end up in confrontations with police. Now, this is the number of the anti-police crowd. They say about 400. That's the big number that they've come to. Now, some say it's less than that, and some argue that it's really closer to about 285. Take the big number. Happy to do that. Folks, that's still only thousands of a percent. Thousands of a percent of those who are actually arrested and taken into custody. That's not an epidemic. Twice as many white people are killed in confrontations with police, but you won't hear about that from the mainstream media because they're interested in pursuing this narrative of racial division. You say, well, there's still an overrepresentation of black people are being killed. Yeah, but there's an overrepresentation of black people committing violent crimes too. Just look at the Bureau of Justice statistics. That's the fact. Black men commit a disproportionate number of violent crimes. You may not like to hear that, but it's the truth. And if you want to deal with it, what we've got to do is get men to take responsibility for their children and get back in the home and start teaching their children right from wrong and start telling their children to stay out of the clutches of the police. Don't go deal drugs. Don't go rob people. Don't go commit crimes. This is what my father told me. And I've not had a problem. And I'm what we now call a senior citizen, I'm told. And I've never had a problem. And I just look just as black as any other black person. See, there are people who don't want to take responsibility for their lives or anything else, and it's got to be somebody else's fault. So if there is a police problem, and I'm not saying that no police officer's ever done anything wrong, no police officers ever behave racially, I'm not saying that. I know better than that. What I'm saying is statistically there is no epidemic of police brutality. There's an epidemic of black on black crime and murder. That's the real problem, but you don't want to talk about that. So you got a maximum. The less number, 400 annually out of almost 3 million arrests, 400 people in confrontations with police, black people, end up dead. A minuscule number. But you've got 7,000 a year that are murdered in the inner cities of this country, and we can't talk about that because that's not the racial narrative we want to pursue. So they can fall dead left and right, and nobody says a peep about it. 500 dead in Chicago already this year. No big deal. But if there were just one, by the way, including that 7,000, children, women, pregnant women, innocent young people, like that kid who was killed, I think on his way to go play basketball because his father there was some beef with his father. They killed the kid. That's the problem. That's the real issue. It's a genocide of black people against other black people, gangs and warfare on the basis of drug territory and gang territory. This is the craziness that is going on, and nobody wants to mention it because it's okay if 7,000 die a year. We can't talk about that because that might put responsibility on the black people who are responsible for these murders. No. We got to talk about the police officers. I mean, and by the way, don't get me started on the fact that 300 300,000 black babies are aborted every, I didn't say 3,000, 300,000 black babies are aborted every single year by the murderous, genocidal Planned Parenthood and their ilk, and nobody says a word about it. If it were any other circumstance, there would be a hue and cry heard across the land. But because it's the favorite Planned Parenthood, the Democrats' favorite organization, I guess they're just in love with killing babies. So don't touch that, because that is untouchable. It's okay. It's all right. As many black babies are aborted in New York as are actually born. That's okay. Oh, no problem. No problem. No problem. It's only a problem if there's a black police officer interacting, if there's a police officer interacting with a black suspect and that suspect ends up dying. That's a problem. Well, maybe it is in some cases. But there are a whole lot more horrendous things going on far more frequently in our country. What about black suicide? What about that? The fact that so many kids are growing up in broken homes with single mothers struggling to try to make ends meet, sometimes doing whatever they need to do and raising the children in chaos. What about that? You know what? If we could eliminate every death of every black person at the hands of a police officer, eliminate all of them, so we just made them go away, just completely go away, you'd still be left with a massive number of black people dying every year by murder, abortion, drug overdose, and suicide. But we can't talk about that because we're too busy trying to condemn America as a racist nation. Well, America's not a racist nation. America's an imperfect nation. But America's the greatest nation that mankind has ever known. And I'll tell you, it pains my heart to see this kind of division being stoked in our country, and the people who have benefited the most. Now, I'm blessed. There's no question about that. I practice law. I pastor a church. I run an organization. I graduated from Harvard Law School. My father had a 6th grade education. But unlike these airheads, I'm grateful for the opportunities I've been given in the United States of America, because I know they wouldn't likely have been available anywhere else on the face of the earth. And I'll tell you what, these millionaires living in their mansions, they wouldn't be doing that anywhere else on the face of the earth either, would they? They can't do anything else for the most part. They're not rocket scientists. They're not curing cancer. They're putting a little round leather ball in a metal rim with some rope on the bottom of it. And they're taking a little leather ball and running up and down a green, grassy field with it. And you know, you're not going to get the Nobel Peace Prize, which is worthless today anyway, because it's nothing but a leftist joke. You're not going to get the Nobel Prize for anything. So some people may try to give it to Colin Kaepernick, which would be just prove my point that how worthless the whole award has become. So folks, look, I'm not watching it. I'm just not going to watch it. And I hope millions of Americans show the NFL we love our country more than we love football. And if you're going to treat our country this way, you are not going to get our dollars in your stadiums. And you can figure out how you then make the money you've been making off of us by spitting in our faces, because that's exactly what, every time I see it, to me, it's like spitting in my face as an American. And you know what? I don't tune in to have somebody spit in my face. So folks, I would say this: vote with your dollars, vote with your eyeballs. You know, my organization is now contemplating putting out something that will express our willingness to stand. The name of our organization is STAND, right? Our willingness to stand for our country and stand for our flag. but I'm going to buy one of Alejandro Villanueva's. I'm not, like I said, I'm not even a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm going to buy one of his jerseys. I'm going to vote with my dollars and vote with my eyeballs. And look, and here's the last thing I'll say to you. Instead of taking a knee against your country and against your flag, when so many have bled and died for the freedom that allows you to do that, but instead of doing that, why don't you take a knee before God in behalf of our country and ask God to have mercy on our nation and to bless our nation and to bring our nation together? Because this mess is tearing it apart. And by the way, it is not President Trump. How hypocritical can you be? For Goodell, somebody, the divisive rhetoric of the president. Colin Kaepernick and the idiots who followed him have divided us, not the president. Like I said, I might not have expressed it quite that way, but I'm glad somebody, and I'm glad it was the president of the United States, who stood up for what I'm feeling. I'm tired of it. I've had it. And yeah, I wish there was an owner who'd say, you can't stand up for the flag under which this business operates and the country that made it possible for me to have the money to have this team to pay you that gigantic salary you get. Leave. You're gone. Go protest somewhere else. I would love for an owner to make that clear, to show some gratitude. Roger Goodell, $45 million a year. Fire him first. He needs to go. He doesn't have the sense God gave a gnat. Every issue that's come up, he's botched, and he's botching this one too. I don't know what's wrong with the man. Something's wrong with him. He needs to go. Go do something else. Nothing but an overpaid idiot. Come on. $45 million a year. And basically what he's going to do, you know what he's going to do for the owners? Wreck the league. Because that's what he's doing right now, wrecking the league. Because you turned a fan into somebody who can't stand the idea of watching it anymore. You want to get me back, you want to get Americans back, tell these players, look, we're not a political organization, we are a football organization. You want to do your politics, you do it outside of the stadium. You're not doing it here. It's hurting our bottom line. That would be the common sense thing to say, but these people seem to be in a circular firing squad. So go right ahead, have it your way. But don't blame the president. He simply expressed the sentiment of millions of Americans. And so finally, folks, we need to be praying for our country because this mess is out of hand. It really is. And I'll tell you something. I believe in this vision of one nation under God. If these people believed in God instead of believing in their own selfish attitude and ideas and their own sense of victimization and victimhood, I mean, give me a break. You're worth $500,000 and you're a victim. A victim of what? American generosity that made you rich? Please. But we need to be praying for our country instead of vilifying our country and asking God to do a work in our hearts to bring us together as one nation under God in pursuit of the vision of individual liberty and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Because without God, there's not going to be any indivisibility or unity, and there's not going to be any liberty and justice for all. There's going to be a lot of division and a lot of chaos because we choose to put leftist ideology and hatred of America in the forefront as opposed to putting love of country and care for our citizens and respect for one another in the forefront. So folks, that's it. Vote with your eyeballs, vote with your dollars. Let the NFL know and any other league that decides to go down this road. You can do it. Yeah, you're free to do it. Free country, you're welcome to. But you won't do it with my support. You won't do it with my viewership. And you won't do it with my purchases. So look, God bless you all. We're going to keep standing for America. We love our country. We are not ashamed of our flag or ashamed of our country. We're not a perfect country, no. But we're the best there's ever been. And you know what? If we can get rid of some of these people who hate us so much, who live right here, we can keep getting better. And that's what I intend to fight for, to keep making America better. So God bless you. May heaven smile upon each and every one of you. And remember this, We cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side.